a big topic of conversation over the last couple weeks really has been deposit issues with banks, withdrawal issues with banks. And this is a big thing. I just was reading an article back from a couple of years ago. U.S. cash crisis, withdrawal limits spark bank run fears. And this has happened in 9/11. I believe it happened in 2009. Bank holidays, gatekeeping, gating funds. And this is another one and this is why I'm making this video, because this is a timeline, a progression of things continually happening. And then today, right on Yahoo, I get a Yahoo email just to kind of see what's going on. I like triangulating positions and seeing different points of view. And Yahoo definitely has an interesting point of view, let's just say that. And the very first thing on Yahoo's news each day was why banks are suddenly closing down customer accounts. And it goes into sob stories and things of that nature. And, the banks call them exiting or de-risking. This is, again, a PSA that you are entering a debtor-creditor relationship when you put your cash into a bank. When you go put your cash into a bank, you don't own your money anymore, your cash. You don't own your wealth. The banks own it. You can go read all the fine print and things of that nature, but they own it, and they can do pretty much whatever they want with it. You now become a private money lender, in essence, to the bank. The bank goes and takes your cash and goes and buys whatever they want with it. Buys mortgage-backed securities, real estate, stocks, bonds, generally bonds, a lot of it's bonds, but they can go do whatever they want, and then they're trying to get a yield. They might pay you 1%, or now they're paying 5%, or whatever it might be, or 4%, and they're trying to go get 7%, 8%. That's why you see mortgage rates at 7, 8% now, because they're trying to capture the spread between 8% and then the 5% they're giving you. 8% they're lending out, 5% they're giving you. They're trying to capture that 3% spread. That right there is probably the one big thing that they should be putting out there and never do, right? It's one of the most regulated industries. And the one thing they don't tell you is the most important thing. Hey, we own your cash now, and we can do whatever we want with it. And you're the creditor, we're the debtor in this relationship. You're a private money lender. So hopefully we get you a return on it. And if we don't, like we saw banks collapsing many times throughout the years, most recently just 7 months ago in the spring, we saw a bunch of banks collapse. There's actually more banks collapsing just in the last few days. You don't see that anywhere in the news. And you have others, gating funds. Bank of America is literally insolvent right now. I haven't researched that myself, but I have some people that I follow the Greg Fosses of the world and Larry Lepards who watch this stuff on a daily basis and literally saying, yeah, on the books, Bank of America is literally insolvent. And then we have the FDIC, which one of the most viewed videos I have on this channel so far is the FDIC meeting notes, but it's a YouTube video, a 3-hour meeting, and I share, I believe, a clip of it for 30 seconds or a minute, and they're telling you, hey, these banks are insolvent. All these banks are insolvent. There's a lot of massive, big problems going on here, but no one needs to know. The public doesn't need to know. Only the people of interest, and we can put it out there. If people want to find it, people that need to find this information can find it. That's great. And I had 1,000 views or 2,000 views or whatever it was on the channel, on the thing initially. Then I got 10,000, 20,000 views after the banks were collapsing, because people were searching this stuff. They were looking for the FDIC, insurance and what was going on with it, and people were searching for it. And this is why, again, I don't tell people to buy Bitcoin as a financial thing. It's a freedom thing. And really what I should be doing is telling people to go study Bitcoin. And it's an asset, it's money, it's the purest form of money humans have ever discovered, and it's outside the system. Plain and simple, pure and simple. It's being your own bank. You don't have to bank on, no pun intended, the banking system or credit unions or the central banks. There's no need to. You can be your own bank. You can be your own fiduciary. You can be the person. You can be your own trust. That's what we're talking about here. That's why I've come from this evolution of being in politics and then being in high-level athletics and seeing that world, and then real estate investing and raising money and raising cash, I should say, currency, and being an investor, having all the different assets, owning all the different asset classes, being in private placements, doing all these different things. Not at the biggest levels, I'm not Warren Buffett, but I've seen these levels now at many different areas. I'm a generalist. I'm not an expert in any one thing, and that's why this is a channel to me, and this my role, I believe, is to create different context and shift people's context for what's going on. And it's what Robert Kiyosaki does. I'm not Robert Kiyosaki either by any means, but he's a context shifter. He's not the person that's going to give you the content necessarily. My job and people that have that type of personality is to kind of shape people or shift context and then get people thinking, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then go research themselves more. Because that's what I do. I mean, that's my personality as a teacher, but also it's because I'm a student. I'm constantly a student, and I'm just relaying what I have learned as a teacher on the teaching side. So when you have things like this happening, the signs are there. Everything is there to tell us this is what's going to happen, and we just don't know exactly when. From everything I've seen, there's a lot of it speeding up now, whether it's economists, politicians, Bitcoiners, non-Bitcoiners, it doesn't matter. A lot of people plugged into the system are saying, yeah, the next year is going to be really interesting at best, probably really bad at worst. And you already see banks, again, continually shutting down. You see, like I was coming back full circle off this tangent I was just on, but the banks that closed, you saw the depositors that, a lot of them, I don't know if all of them were made whole. Some of them were, some weren't, but the banks, a lot of them were made whole because they were marking to market, which just means the Fed came in and backstopped with a new program they're not supposed to be doing, and they backstopped them and said, hey, we're going to make your bonds whole because they bought all these bonds at a low rate. That means they were really high in value, and then it flip-flopped. All the new bonds that were coming out were high interest rates and low value, so people were flooding to get a new interest rate, and it put all these banks who had been buying for the last handful of years, it put them underwater. Now they were there with an unrealized loss. They hadn't sold a lot of them, but because the problem was all these people are coming flooding in when you have these crises, and people are flooding in saying, hey, I want my cash out because I don't trust you. They realize, hey, I've been hoodwinked. I've been scammed. The banks aren't doing anything for me. They're doing zero for holding my wealth, and I want my cash out. And again, this is not the first time in history. Clearly, as happened many times, people just continue falling into these traps. But it's also because we didn't have an answer before. And this is, like I said, this is why we, and so many of us, promote Bitcoin, because now this doesn't have to happen anymore. You don't have to be in this world where your wealth is at risk. You can put it at risk if you want, but you don't have to be at risk. And so people were coming and getting their deposits, and then they were like, we don't have the cash. So they started selling these bonds to get liquidity, to get extra cash to pay out these depositors because they didn't have the cash on their balance sheet. They had to sell off assets, their bonds, which were underwater. So the bonds were underwater, and they had to realize the losses. They had to take losses. They bought them at 100, and they're selling them at 50, or selling them at 60, or selling them at 70, and they were taking huge losses. Stock prices going down, so it's a doom loop, and people start running more. It's like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. I got to get my cash out, and more people. So you're going to see how this starts to play out going forward, whether it's hyperinflation or more bank collapses. This is what happened in 08, in the 97 bank long-term capital management. This is what happened in the 01 crash. This happened in 08, 09. This is what happened in 2019 in the repo crisis there. And that's why the injection of liquidity actually needed to come in early 2020, not the lockdowns. That wasn't the reason. It was because the repo market was locking up. The same thing is about to happen again. This process is speeding up. It's playing out faster and faster, and our debt continues climbing faster and faster and faster. That's why we are coming to a Y in the road. Which way are we going to go? Are we going to say, hey, we're going to give our life to government and choose CBDCs and let them run every aspect of our life, Brave New World, 1984? Or are we going to choose Bitcoin and freedom? That's, CBDCs and slavery, or Bitcoin and freedom. That is the only two choices that we have on the road, the two true choices. So all these articles and things like this, silently, slowly dripping these things out here. Hey, another bank collapsed. Oops. Not really even saying that, but hey, why are banks closing some of your accounts? Why are these people gated their funds? Why can't they get their funds out? Why is Blackstone continually, we did this many times over the last year, continually gating funds? They'd be raising new funds from pensions and endowments, $1 billion here and there. Yet on the other end, they're gating funds from people so they can't get it out. And again, this is why you see this across the board when they're gating funds, stopping funds from being withdrawn. They're trying to bail out the other side of the Ponzi. Let's call it what it is. They're trying to bail out the other side of the Ponzi, and only banks really are the ones that get away with this. We let them get away with this. All these people work at our behalf. The governments, they're in bed with the banks, and the banks are in bed with the governments. The governments work at our behalf. That's the thing we have to understand. So many people say, well, let's see how the elites let us play it out. Let's see. That's not how this works. This is America. I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but this is America. The governments and all the things that go on here work at our behalf. And we can change that. The 3% is what changed the Revolutionary War. That's it. We are there. We are at times to try men's souls. Things will get crazier before they get better. But rest assured, there are many, many people here in America that are ready to make this system fair, equitable, and just once again, and give us back the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, the pursuit of happiness. I appreciate you more than you know. We are doing everything we can here. This is what I do. I left all the things I did. I left hockey. I left the real estate that I was doing because I knew I had to be here. I knew I had to be educating, spending my full time, the time I'm not with my family, educating people on what I have seen. And these are the things that I've seen, I've experienced, and I've studied, and people I've talked to now for 20 years. And I know that I have to share what I have seen. So I appreciate you sharing it out. The algorithm hates truth. It's not going to get out on its own. And the community we're building, I appreciate that. And you can see the link in the description. Again, if you have tips, you want to tip, I don't, it's my time and energy. I don't have any paid courses. There's things I might be building, books that will be selling eventually, kids books, many things I'm working on. Maybe courses. I might put out a course. I get a lot of stuff about basic beginner stuff for Bitcoiners. Might put out a course for free that I might ask for tips on the back end. So if you feel like we give you content here, please go to the address and tip us in Bitcoin and do that. And we would really appreciate it because this is what we do. This is my thing. This is what we do, and this is what we're building. I help Bitcoin trading cards, but I've been doing that for the last year because I believe in the mission. So it's a mission. It is truly a mission, and to help 8 billion people. That's why I left those other worlds, because I realized I wasn't going to actually affect change by trying to get people into real estate or trying to teach people about this system that was collapsing. I had to go build a new system, and that's why a number of years ago I got into Bitcoin and realized this is the game. It's the greatest game. It's changing the monetary system for 8 billion humans and, quite honestly, changing the entire world. It's the greatest game, and it's the most fun game to play. Way more fun than hockey, everything I've ever played before. So I appreciate you. Please share this out. Trust but verify. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. This is not financial advice. It is freedom advice. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. And if you feel so inclined as well, please check out the other videos we have about the Fed. We just talked about the Fed and some more of this as well. The NAR lawsuit, and the National Association of Realtors, massive billions of dollar lawsuit is going to change real estate and how it's going to change CPAs and accountants and all the things coming forward. I talked about that in the last couple of videos. Last two, you can go check those out. You're not going to want to miss those. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.